Welcome back to Percy Jackson Month.
Death surrounds, my heart beats slowing down. I won't take this world's abuse. I won't give up or refuse. This is how it feels when you're bent and broken. This is how it feels when your dignity's stolen and everything you love is leaving. You hold on to what you believe in.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the original myths again. Now, you remember that I did, in fact, review the Iliad, telling you how annoyed I was with it, because seriously, they started a war over a girl, and then it got worse because of another girl. It's one girl. One. But regardless of that, there are aspects to mythology that I learned in my mythology class. Yeah, I took a mythology class. Would you have guessed that I wouldn't? But that's why I read the Iliad, and we also read the Odyssey, we also read some hymns, and we talked about components of mythology. And a lot of it is actually in the series, and we never realized it. So, let's begin. To start things off, one, the mythology, obviously the original myths, there are many versions of the original myths, and I'm going to be telling you a couple things that are different about them and components that we never realized about them. So let's start with something that I did bring up in the Iliad, and I will be doing more extensively on, and that's how different heroes and gods are portrayed. They are portrayed as they don't eat, they don't sleep, they just need to be there, and their presence does something to the room, the battlefields, just whatever's going on. It does something as they walk in the room, and that is just the components of a god. And I did bring up how Achilles does this a lot, where he doesn't really eat, he doesn't really ever, you don't really see him sleeping, and just he screams across the battlefield and does, he pulls a pan, okay? He pulls that whole pan thing with panic, and he just screams, and they run, and they get like a short break, I guess, because then they go back to fighting in like a couple books later, I guess. This war is very confusing. It's a very strange war, but then again, how much fighting is really done, because mostly it's strategizing, which sounds about right. And that's just one component. I did bring up how Nico fits that a lot, and I mean a lot, especially towards the midpoint of his character, because at the beginning he's he's a kid, he's the annoying little kid, and then at the end we start to find out things more. You see that he's more sensitive, that he's more sensitive, that he has love problems and really hates Cupid, and you start to learn more about him. The more you learn about him, the less godlike he actually is, at least according to mythology. And while we're on the topic of eating and sleeping, it is an un-Greek thing to eat dairy. Yeah, in the Odyssey, it's specifically mentioned how much dairy this Cyclops eats. They're constantly being like, he'll milk his sheep and he'll do this and make the cheese. It's very un-Greek because they just didn't have that stuff, so they saw it as un-Greek. And if you think about it, in the series, how much dairy do they actually eat? Like, Percy sometimes mentions cheeseburgers, but that's it. You don't specifically hear them talking about eating cheese or, drinking milk. It's always some form of meat or berries or fruit. Always. You don't really ever hear it or ever think about it, but that's probably done on purpose, because Rick Riordan, remember, he taught this stuff. So he might have done that on purpose, showing that it's an un-Greek thing to do. And that might be another reason Frank could be able to get along with the Greeks so well. He's lactose intolerant, non-dairy. I don't know if that was the intention, because he is one of the few who can get along with the Greeks, but if that was, it fits all of this. And yeah, all of this, see, this is another one, some translations, got the Iliad, I have all my books with me. And then we got some hymns. Now I'm going to bring up these hymns next, because these hymns are actually very interesting. And so, not so much the works and days, but more of the harmonic hymns I want to bring up. Because apparently in Greek mythology, Zeus has love powers? Yeah, I'm not joking. There is actually a myth for Aphrodite in which she falls desperately in love with this really handsome hunter, I'm gonna say he is. I'm gonna say he's a hunter. And she just falls in love with him. Why? Because Zeus was getting back at her. That's why. She gets really prettied up and then goes out there. That's something she never does. Apparently. Goddess of love never goes out and yeah, you get the idea. She makes animals do it too, just by walking through the forest. Aphrodite, ladies and gentlemen, Aphrodite. That was interesting. I'm like, if Zeus can do that, oh, Rick Riordan, I'm glad you haven't brought that part up yet, because if he can make Aphrodite fall in love with a human guy, a goddess fall for a human, then imagine what he could do to Percy and Annabeth. Oh, he better not break. Ooh, he breaks him up. Nope, he better not break him up. Otherwise, in all of these hymns, they do go into a bit more detail. Some of them are rather interesting. Actually, interestingly enough, for the myth of Demeter, Persephone. And Demeter, when Persephone was kidnapped by Hades, and this is kind of the only bad thing Hades has ever really done, honestly, he did let her go. Seriously, he's not the villain in mythology, but we'll come to that in a minute after Demeter here. But in this myth, you actually see Helios and Hermes, I believe it's Helios and Hermes, they both try to get her to come back to Olympus, because she leaves Olympus. She doesn't just do, I'm a Eternal Winter. No, she's just actually leaves Olympus and refuses to come back until she gets her daughter back. And when she does that, Hermes and I believe Helios also tries to get her to come back, but in the end, I want to say it's actually Hestia who convinces her to come back. Girl power. It's one of the goddesses. All the guys try. It doesn't work. And in this one, actually, Hades gave her the pomegranate. Actually put it in her mouth and was like, eat it. She did. Because reasons, I don't know. But, yeah, he was pretty calm about the whole thing still. Hermes comes down there and is like, yeah, I gotta take Persephone back. Like that, and then he's like, okay, gives her the pomegranate, and off they go. So, seriously, Hades is the least villain in this entire thing. It's kind of weird thinking how much he's always portrayed as the villain, as the bad guy, just because it's with death. In this, I kid you not, he does nothing. In all of these books, let's see. Okay, so let's go to we got the hymns. I'm going to tell you exactly what hymns are in this book. So, let's count how many hymns are to Hades. Nope, none. Seriously, we got Mr. D, Demeter, Apollo, Hermes, Aphrodite, Mr. D, Ares, Artemis, Aphrodite, Athena, Hera, Demeter, the mother of the gods. That's literally what it says. The lion-hearted Hercules. Even Hercules gets one. A couple more heroes. Hermes. Pan gets one. Hephaestus, Apollo, Poseidon, Zeus, Hestia, the muses and Apollo. Mr. D, Artemis, Athena, Hestia, Earth, mother of all things. That's literally, I'm not joking. It says to Earth and mother of all things. That's what it says. Helios, and again, just two guested friends. Seriously. Hades does not have his own hymn. And even in this one, it's only briefly mentioned. You have Zeus getting nearly a whole page, and then Poseidon gets like a fourth of a page, and Hades gets like one sentence. Jeez. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Poor guy. He only gets one sentence, and in here, same deal. Same deal. You get the beginning, how everything started. Okay, hang on 1 second. I just had to move. Moving around. Because I guess saying Hades too much makes the lights go out. But yeah, this book, he just is barely mentioned. They bring up a couple parts, but he's barely mentioned. I suppose, but a lot of it is true. He does remain really true to the story. And a lot of it, it's actually a lot darker because you have the myth of Eros and Psyche, for instance. That one, fun fact, was originally told in Rome. It was not originally told for Greece. It was written down in Rome. But that one had Psyche trying to commit suicide a lot. Yeah, she was not portrayed as the I gotta go and get my husband back and prove that I deserve him. She was trying to like drown herself. The whole thing about the tower and the jumping off was true. It just wasn't him. Yeah, makes very, very little sense. A little confusing. He tweaked it a little. He's actually merging a lot of different myths. Because like I mentioned, let's take the Eros and Psyche one again. She does talk to these ants, and she does talk to this plant in the tower, but in this version, she actually only talks to the ants. It's not like a goddess or a god through the tower or through this eagle or through the plant. No, it's literally just that thing. But in other versions, it is them talking to her. It is them directly helping her. And Rick Riordan kind of just merged it all together. And interesting, it's kind of funny because a lot of it, some myths actually leave out. I remember reading before Rick Riordan came up with it, I remember reading the myth of Eros and Psyche in another story. And this was another book, it was meant for kids, but they actually took out the eagle part. I don't remember her going to do the water. That was not a thing. And they skipped over, that was the one they always skip over for some reason, because I remember her doing the ants, it had a nice picture, and I also remember that they did do the river, but they did not do the eagle, and then she went to the underworld, except it wasn't as detailed, obviously. It wasn't as detailed. Altogether, a lot of things about myths are missed, especially that dairy one. I found that dairy one actually really surprising and interesting, how it's true. You don't really hear them talking about having dairy ever. They never bring it up, but that's just a subtle thing for mythology. They never bring it up. Nico actually acting godlike. If you view these as myths, like you would these, then Nico would be viewed as godlike, especially with midway through his character. I mean, sometimes shows up, he does do a lot of the behind-scenes pulling of the strings, and he doesn't eat a lot. You don't really see him sleep that much either until the Blood of Olympus. So he would be seen as godlike. And then obviously some other parts where it's like you just get some other sides of the gods, like I said, Zeus having love power. Please don't make that a thing. Also, a very confusing thing was that in this version, right here, this telling of the myth, of all the myths, the creation myth had Uranus. You got Uranus, and then you have Gaia. Then you also have Eros. Except it's not Eros. It's not Cupid Eros. It's the concept Eros. Well, now we know where we got his name, but that really confused me. Let me tell you, that confused me so much. And also the idea of 10. I actually find this fascinating. The idea of 10. It always is 9. Whoa, I just realized something. Okay, I just realized something. I literally just realized this. Let me think about this. I gotta phrase this. That idea of 10. So there's this idea of 10. There's also this idea of 10 in these books. And the idea of 10 is that it kind of revolves around also pregnancy, I guess. But in everything, it's always actually done in tens. You do hear odd numbers, but 10 is the magic number. In these books, it took 10 years for everyone to get back from the Trojan War. It took 10 years for the gods to take over. It took 10 years for Odysseus to get out of the Sea of Monsters. It's always a 10, and it's this idea that in the 10th month, you're going to finish whatever it is. It's going to happen in the 10th month, in the 10th year, in the 10th day. If you think about it, actually, I'm starting to think about it too. Some of the quests were done in tens as well, I believe. I believe some of the quests might have been also done in tens, where they said it was 2 weeks, but in reality, it was like a little under 2 weeks. Just very interesting things. Like the 10 idea, especially because there was 10 books. I want to bring that one up too. There were 10 books in total for the Percy Jackson series, and I know they're continuing in Trials of Apollo, but it's not a direct continuation. This was a direct continuation because we got that prophecy in the last Olympiad, and then it was a direct continuation straight on through. Yeah. 10 books. Yeah, that idea of 10, it's interesting and it's fascinating, and we never noticed it. So all these things we never noticed. There's a lot more about the myths that are slightly different that I found, especially were slightly different. Was able to skip over a lot of it. Like, they actually don't put too much emphasis on Artemis's birth as they do Apollo. I know now why Apollo has a ginormous head. Yeah, he literally, I kid you not. My teacher, the first few weeks, we had to go through all the gods, so everyone knew what was going on when we got to the Iliad and the Odyssey, and they knew who was who, what god did what, different myths that could be alluded to, so on and so forth. I kid you not. We did 2 gods a day, and since it was like a 2-hour class, 1 hour was one god, the other hour was another god. We had Apollo and Hermes on the same day, and he did Apollo first, I don't know, alphabetical, who knows, and we talked for an hour and a half about Apollo more before our teacher looked at the clock and stopped and was like, we should get to Hermes. And he could still talk about Apollo. My God, like, seriously, he had like 20 some. He had so many I don't even know what they would be calling ceremonies, I guess, to him. So many contests were dedicated to him. It was just crazy and insane, I believe, that actually happened back then. That's why his ego is huge, because everyone in Greece loved him. I don't know. And actually, interestingly enough, Apollo is portrayed in mythology as the strongest Olympian. And he got his own prophecy about him being the strongest. And Zeus ended up not being like Cronus or Uranus, and upon hearing that his son was stronger than him, the Apollo is stronger than. How did that happen then? How did that? Well, probably because when he was born, Zeus was okay with it. He was cool with it. He actually served Apollo for 5 seconds, I guess. Gave him a drink. That's it. Father-son bonding. In Greece. But after that, they did. But that's it. That was Apollo. So lots of things about mythology. I could keep going on and on and on. So many aspects of mythology that keep going. I have 4 books, obviously. This is not even all the myths. None of these actually cover the heroes. This one covers the heroes a bit, but not all of the heroes. And even some versions of the heroes are a little mixed. So that's it for today. That's just calming down. You learn a bit more about mythology. Some things would be awesome if you put in there. Some things, please don't put in there. Zeus and love powers. Please don't put that. And some things that you didn't even realize were already part of it that are part of mythology. And that is it for today's Percy Jackson video. And later this month we still got another timeline video to come up, and we're also going to be going over my personal favorite myth, and just maybe like I'll do a countdown style of what my favorite myths are. That's a good idea. So I'll be doing a countdown style of what my favorite myths are coming up soon, and we'll have just more videos, so stay tuned for Percy Jackson month. So thanks for watching. Bye!